did not know where we were, in heaven or on earth. Russian envoys in Hagia Sophia, 987 AD. The dome was suspended from heaven by a golden chain. Historian Procopius, 537 AD. Byzantium, Constantinople, and Istanbul. Capital city of great empires in modern-day Turkey. The city embraces Asia and Europe at the crossroads of Western and Eastern civilization. The natural world has generally been very kind to Istanbul, but it has left a legacy of deadly earthquakes throughout the city's existence. In fact, it's felt that a large earthquake is expected in the near future and would be triggered along the active fault lines on the seabed. The geographer Petrus Gillius wrote in 550 AD, "It seems to me, while other cities are mortal, Constantinople will endure as long as there are men on earth." However, this immortal city had been devastated in every century by earthquakes. One of the most historic structures, despite being very close to these earthquake fault lines, has been standing for 1500 years. This monumental temple, known as Hagia Sophia, contains the secrets of Istanbul's historic earthquakes. Hagia Sophia, the survivor of deadly earthquakes. Hagia Sophia, the battlefield of civilizations. Survivor of riots and wars from ancient to modern times. Ravenna, Italy. San Vitale Monastery, the church famous for its unique mosaics. The great Justinian, conqueror of territories for the Roman Empire and whose image, along with that of his wife Theodora, adorns the apse. In 532 AD, Justinian decided to build an extraordinary temple in his capital city of Constantinople. The temple is designed to combine the form of a basilica at the bottom and a giant dome symbolizing imperial power at the top. This revolutionary structure with its unique architecture was named Hagia Sophia, meaning Holy Wisdom. In the planning phase, the architects of Hagia Sophia had to face unprecedented challenges. How would they be able to build such a giant circular dome over a square basilica plan? How could they protect the temple against deadly earthquakes? Would Hagia Sophia collapse or be able to survive for thousands of years to come? Hagia Sophia was built on the site of a great church which was burned down in the Nika uprising in 532 AD. Today's Hagia Sophia is the third temple on the site and was built between 532 and 537 during the rule of Justinian the Great. The ancient writer Procopius wrote about Justinian's building. The emperor does not avoid any expenses for the construction. Thousands of workers were brought from all corners of the empire. Anthemius of Tralles, the most talented person of all time in the art of construction, was commissioned to carry out the works. With him, Isidoros of Miletos, a man of intellect, the most talented architect, was commissioned to work. we admire the wisdom of the emperor in choosing the best technicians to execute his noblest work. Hagia Sophia was built in the historical peninsula of Istanbul. The temple is surrounded by the Bosphorus, Golden Horn and Marmara Sea. It all began after sea levels began to rise. This strategic location, where the Mediterranean Sea and Black Sea meet, the beginnings of the city began to take shape. The geography of Istanbul had been shaped by the glacial thaw after the last ice age on the European continent. The North Anatolian fault lines along the floor of the Marmara Sea are the main source of devastating earthquakes in Istanbul. This deadly fault crosses very near the Hagia Sophia, some 15 kilometers off the coast. Every year, the sea floor is moving about 3 centimeters along these fault fractures. The active faults have a potential to generate earthquakes that register over 7 on the Richter scale. Seafloor investigations have confirmed that the fault lines are already under stress. Storing up energy to be released in the form of future earthquakes. Every century, Istanbul finds itself in a cycle of destruction and reconstruction. (553 to 557 AD). Churches and houses damaged. Seawater flooded the city centre. 1010 to 1040 AD. A series of earthquakes lasted for a decade. Havarium Church and thousands of houses collapsed. 1509 Minor apocalypse. Earthquake occurred at midnight. A total of 10,000 people died and earthquake tremors lasted for months. The Ottoman Emperor moved to another city for his safety. The 1766 earthquake. Earthquake occurred on the morning of a feast day. Mosques collapsed. 4,000 lives were lost. Sea waves damaged the historic walls. The Ottoman Emperor moved to another city. 1894 earthquake. Thousands of buildings on the seacoast and on the Prince Islands were damaged. The walls of the Grand Bazaar collapsed, killing many people. 1999 Marmara earthquake. Earthquake caused loss of life and property. Thousands of buildings were damaged. A total of 18,000 people lost their lives in the earthquake. Hagia Sophia, built by ancient architects in 537 AD, continues to survive to the present day. Constantinople was described as the New Rome and was built on a topography of 7 hills. It was one of the most magnificent cities and was the capital of the Roman Empire for a century. The megastructures, including Hagia Sophia, Hippodrome, Great Palace, forums and victory roads, were constructed as part of a new city plan by Constantine the Great in 330 AD. Hagia Sophia was the largest vaulted building for 900 years in the Middle Ages. Today, it has the 3rd largest dome made of bricks. It uses revolutionary architectural elements and excellent structural form, which was well ahead of its time. The architects of Hagia Sophia, Isidoros of Miletos and Anthemius of Tralles, were from the Aegean region, where ancient cities were frequently destroyed by earthquakes. They were experts in geometry and physics. It is believed that they had practical experience of how to reduce the impact of earthquakes on buildings. In the construction of the Hagia Sophia, both architects had adopted this ancient knowledge. Light and flexible construction techniques were used instead of traditional heavy construction methods. The use of lighter materials appears to have saved Hagia Sophia from these deadly earthquakes. The city of Constantinople itself had very weak soil. However, Hagia Sophia was constructed wisely on strong rock formations on hilly terrain 40 meters above sea level. The structural foundations were built on the sandstone of the Thrace Formation. Even during major earthquakes, the foundations would not be compromised. In the central part, the giant dome was built a massive 56 meters above ground level, symbolizing the imperial power. This dome is supported by 4 half domes to provide a very wide interior space. In order to stop the walls collapsing under the heavy weight of the mighty central dome, the half domes were supported by buttresses and with new architectural elements called pendentives. The young Isidoros rebuilt the central dome as we see it today after the collapse in May 558. He adopted extraordinary engineering solutions in the dome construction. The dome height was increased in order to achieve much more stable geometry. In addition, a total of 40 arched windows were opened along the base of the central dome in order to reduce the stresses. In Ottoman times, heavy buttresses were added by architect Sinan to further support the central dome. The daylight entering through the windows creates a perception that the central dome is hanging from the sky. One of the secrets of Hagia Sophia is the use of both a special cement mortar and also light bricks. The mortar consists mainly of crushed bricks, lime, sand and water. Such mortar is flexible and maintains its strength for hundreds of years. So that in the event of an earthquake, the light construction materials reduce the lateral forces acting on the temple. Despite the devastating historical earthquakes in every century, Hagia Sophia has been standing for nearly 1500 years. Today, this iconic structure continues to be an inspiration for the design of earthquake-resistant buildings. The mysteries and legends about Hagia Sophia are passed down from generation to generation. For example, angels helping with the holy design. The mystery of a wet column where all wishes come true. Disappearance of a patriarch on the day of conquest by Ottomans, and Justinian's dream about how Hagia Sophia surpassed Solomon's mighty temple. The central dimension of Hagia Sophia is about 70 by 75 meters. In length, it reaches 135 meters, including narthex, nave and apse. The big dome is about 32 meters in diameter and rises 56 meters in height above the ground. The central dome includes 40 supporting ribs with arched windows in between. In the Middle Ages, no building in Europe could match the height of Hagia Sophia. Here, the light through these many windows creates a treasure of light. The Great Dome, arches, galleries, semi-domes and golden mosaics depicting the Virgin Mary, Infant Jesus, emperors and saints are all very impressive under the filtered amber lights. The columns used in Hagia Sophia were brought from Heliopolis, Egypt. Large red columns from the Temple of Artemis in Ephesus, Kyzikos and Baalbek in Syria. The marble used in its walls was brought from various places, multicolored stones from Phrygia and emerald green marbles from Sparta in Greece. An historian from the 5th century mentions that the church is distinguished by amazing beauty, excelling both in its size and in the harmony of its measures, being more magnificent and much more elegant. It is full of light and sunshine. A spherical dome is standing upon the arches that make it exceedingly beautiful. From the lightness of the building, it does not appear to rest upon a solid foundation. The dome is suspended from heaven by a fabled golden chain. All parts are surprisingly joined to one another in the air, suspended from one another, and each individual part attracts the eye to itself. It is impossible accurately to describe the gold, silver and gems presented by the Emperor Justinian. Hagia Sophia has experienced many natural disasters, wars, riots, fires and religious conflicts. The temple, with its great domes and towering minarets, has continued to survive against deadly earthquakes throughout its 1500-year history. Hagia Sophia is a monumental temple where religions and great emperors pray under the same dome. The temple can be likened to the Gordian knot for Christians, Muslims and secular people alike. Each community wants to see the temple from their own perspective. For secular people, Hagia Sophia is a symbol of cultural legacy. It is not just a magnificent church or mosque, but one of the world's cultural heritage sites, and is for everyone. Today, 7 wonders of the ancient world have been either damaged or completely lost. But the 8th wonder, Hagia Sophia, continues to look out over the city gloriously. Hagia Sophia has the same history as the oldest olive trees, living for thousands of years on Earth. One day, Homer sat in the shade of an old olive tree. the tree whispered in Homer's ear, "I belong to everyone, and I do not belong to anyone. I was here before you came, and I will be here after you leave."